Ilia Topuria is one of the fastest rising stars in the UFC today, and in this video we're going to go over exactly what makes him such a polarizing figure.
Obviously, we're all confident. We all want to be confident, but you're a special kind of confident. I think even in your bio on social media, it already says that you're a champion. Can you explain why you are so confident? You actually are very, very open.
It's inevitable. I'm going to win this fight. It's my destiny. You know, it always was my destiny. I was born as a fighter. I was born as a UFC world champion. I know my level. I know myself, and I have the capacity of analyze all my opponents. I know that I'm better than anyone in my division. Even in the next weight class, I'm better than everyone. And it's just a matter of time that I'm gonna prove all of them time and time again wrong.
However, first, before we get into why Ilia is such a big star, thank you guys for stopping by the channel, and thank you for supporting the content. Welcome back to the daily series of Nwadei MMA, where I give you my thoughts, but more importantly, ask for you guys' thoughts, because you guys are the MMA community, and I couldn't do this without you guys. Quickly, before getting into the video, I just want to take this chance to say, if you guys like fight reactions, MMA breakdowns, and uncensored MMA opinions, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to be notified when more videos like this will pop up in the future. But if you are really into uncensored MMA opinions, go ahead and check out my podcast, The Will versus the Way, out now on YouTube. You can access some of the previous episodes on this channel. They're still up on this channel right now. However, there's a whole new channel for the podcast individually. It's an MMA podcast, and where we interview some of the baddest fighters on the planet, Houston MMA legends, fighters fighting for the LFA, for Fury FC, and other upcoming local promotions. And while we delve into their mindsets, because again, it's a podcast, we're not just interviewing them, we also talk about events going on in the MMA community and give our uncensored opinions. It's absolutely hilarious. And if you're looking for more casual MMA content, then I really believe that that's the podcast for you guys. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get back into the video. Now, what makes Ilia Topuria so polarizing? What makes him so attractive to not only the casual MMA audience, but the hardcore fans as well? Well, this might be a hot take, but I'm gonna say it's the same things that attracted us to Conor McGregor when he was making his rise. Now, I'm gonna be 100% transparent with you guys. When Conor McGregor was rising up and through the ranks, I wasn't necessarily a big fan. Now, of course, I watched his content, I watched his interviews, I watched his fights, I watched pretty much everything that he was putting out because I was interested in that way. I was a fan, but I was always rooting against him for some reason. I just didn't believe in the hype. Maybe I saw some holes in his game early on that maybe other people didn't, like the holes in his wrestling, even though he proved to us against Chad Mendes that it wasn't that big of a hole, but there was just something that was missing for me. And I paid the price while he was knocking out all of my favorite fighters.
Relaxed, smiling. Oh! Deflected!
But this time it's kind of different. And I don't want to sound cliche when I'm comparing him to Conor McGregor in becoming the next big UFC superstar, but there's just something about Ilia Topuria that makes me feel the same way that Conor McGregor did. However, this time, on this side of it, I'm now liking Ilia Topuria. Matter of fact, ever since he beat Ryan Hall, I was a big fan, and I thought he someday could become UFC champion. I always knew he was dangerous. But there's something about his style, and it might be the lack of holes in his game, but there's something about his favorite style that not only makes him a star in my mind and in the minds of the casual, but that also makes me want to root for him as well. He's exuding this confidence that I've only seen from the likes of Conor McGregor and maybe like John Jones or something like that. But I think in order to break down why he's the next UFC superstar, or why he has the capacity to become bigger than Conor McGregor, we have to compare him to Conor McGregor, right? So right now I'm gonna go over the similarities between Ilia Topuria and Conor McGregor and what attracts us to them as MMA fans. So number one, it has to be his confidence. I mean, he carries uber confidence. If you go watch his interview with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, and I'm going to be posting clips of that throughout this video explaining my thoughts, but if you go and watch that video, you just see how confident he is. And this confidence, it's not an ego, it's not narcissism, it's purely confidence based off of preparation. I mean, if I'm breaking it down for you guys, the closer and closer you get to a fight, coming from an MMA fighter and myself, the more confident you get, and then eventually you're that unbeatable guy. Now, Ilia Topuria has found a way to carry that confidence, not just through fight camp, but also away from fight camp. camp and just in his daily life. How is he able to do that? Well, the self-belief comes from not only his devastating performances, having like a 90% finish rate, both submissions and knockouts, having a jiu-jitsu black belt, coming from the Greco-Roman wrestling base and having nasty, destructive power, but it also comes from his preparation. I mean, this dude trains like an absolute animal. Like I said, he has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the same as his brother who he's been training with his entire life. And while he was training from a young age, he didn't actually start fighting until he was maybe even fully like developed as a martial artist. So as soon as he got into the game, he was destroying people right away because he already knew in his mind that he had more experience, he was better, he'd been training longer. He just didn't receive that mileage that some of these guys in the UFC have later in their careers because they started fighting so early. Now I'm sure he has his bumps and bruises and fair share of injuries just from training for so long, but that just goes to show why he's so confident. So again, his devastating performances, his preparation, both of those things have to do with his self-belief. And it's the same thing we saw throughout Conor. The more he knocked people out, the more confident he got, the more he spoke his beliefs into existence, and the more he just attracted success around him. This is the same thing we're seeing from Ilia Topuria. If you go look at his Instagram, it looks like a movie. He's dressing nice, he looks good, he feels good, and he fights good. Now the second reason why I'm comparing him to Conor McGregor, and the second similarities that he has with Conor McGregor in becoming the next big superstar, is that he has our entire country behind him. And if not one, then he has two. Conor McGregor had Ireland, and Ireland, they really showed out for him. They came to all the press conferences and all the fights, and they really cheered him on, and it made him seem like a superstar before he even was one. It's the same thing for Ilia Topuria. He has all of Spain behind him. He has most of Georgia behind him. He was born in Georgia, raised in Spain, trains in Spain. Georgia is only becoming more popular in the MMA scene with guys like Merab Dvalishvili and Giga Chikadze entering the UFC and staking their claim in the UFC.
The whole Georgia will be watching these 4 fights.
However, he is the first Georgian to fight for the title and the first Spaniard to fight for a UFC title. And so with that country behind you brings a whole ton of not only new MMA fans, but fans that are specifically looking to watch your fights, which makes him a huge superstar. And the last similarity him and Conor McGregor have is that he doesn't see himself as the same as these guys. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I'm different, he hasn't fought guys like me before, but the fact that they're even talking about them in the same sentence is different from Ilia Topuria and Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, I think we all remember the famous quote he had. He was supposed to fight Jose Aldo. Jose got injured, he pulled out, and Ariel asked him a question, or he was asked a question by some interviewer, and he says, why does number 1 care if number 3 steps in for number 2? Declaring himself already as the champion, right? And Ilia says something very similar to this when Volk was talking about levels, right?
First round
It's
knockout.
going to be first round knockout.
Wow.
You will see he's saying a lot of bullshit. There's levels. I have this and I have that. Yes, you're right. There are levels. Then there's me.
You watch.
I'm gonna show where the levels are. I'm gonna dominate him in everywhere. I'm gonna make him look like a punching bag. You will see. I will be dancing February 17th.
A lot of us forget that this is the fight game, and that while people have reigned on top for a long amount of time, any of these fights can be their day where they don't win, their day where their legacy comes to a close, and all of that.
He's one of the best. You have to give his credits, right?
Sure.
He was a great champion. He was a pound for pound number 1 of the greats in the featherweight division, and he will be always remembered like that. And I'm happy to be the man who is going to give him a bad news. He's old. It's time to move on.
I mean, you can see the belief in himself, in all of these words that he's saying, that he really believes it, but that he said, whenever I beat Volk, we're not going to need a rematch. Can you believe that? The way he's going to beat Alexander Volkanovski, they're not even going to be talking about a rematch. And he doesn't want to hear the names of Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, and Yair Rodriguez, who have already lost to Volkanovski. After he wins, he's looking at Conor McGregor.
It would be immediate rematch, or do you think you would fight someone else?
The way I'm going to beat him, they don't even going to ask me about the rematch.
Wow. So who do you think it would be?
Conor McGregor. He will be pleasure to share the octagon with me, and maybe in UFC Spain. We both from Europe, and he will be able to bring back home and tell to his wife, baby, Take out the red panties. Topuria keep us rich.
I mean, he's not even putting himself in the same sentence as all these legends in Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, and Yair Rodriguez, who just fought for the belt. He's already dismissing all of them, saying none of them are going to get a shot at the title while he's champion. Not only is he playing the heel, not only is he separating himself, but he is just carving his own path. He's trailblazing his own path. And this is what superstars do. The likes of Muhammad Ali, the likes of Floyd Mayweather, the likes of Conor McGregor. Not everyone agreed with the paths that they were taking because many people hadn't seen the paths that they were taking before. But guess what? When they took those paths, people followed. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. If Ilia Topuria can beat and viciously knock out, which he does to a lot of people, Alexander Volkanovski, the former pound-for-pound #1 fighter on the planet, the one who almost derailed Islam Makhachev's hype train. If he can beat Alexander Volkanovski, similar to the way that Conor McGregor beat the #1 pound-for-pound Jose Aldo back in the day, who's to say he can't be bigger than Conor McGregor? Who's to say he can't be the biggest superstar in the UFC? I mean, if you think about it, and Sean O'Malley talked about this earlier, Conor McGregor, he set the stage, he brought the platform, he brought all these new fans into the business. So naturally, you're going to start off with a better platform than Conor McGregor did. But it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And if you start higher, the chances you're going to finish higher are only greater. Ilia Topuria hasn't won the belt yet, but he has UFC champion in his bio, and he has 2 million followers on Instagram. That's absolutely ridiculous for a contender with only 15 or 16 fights. Leading into UFC 298, Ilia Topuria might not win, but if he does, against Alexander the Great Volkanovski, mark my words, he could be your next UFC superstar. Guys, let me know what you think. If you like the content, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments down below. Let me know what you want me to make a video about next, and I'll go ahead and do that. With that being said, stay safe and stay blessed. I'm out. Peace.